A candidate sits in a stiff wooden chair. He has survived 3 weeks of the most brutal selection course in the United States military. His boots are destroyed. His body is completely broken. But he passed every single physical event. He outrucked, outran, and outnavigated 80% of his peers in the Appalachian Mountains. He walks into a quiet room containing a table of officers. 40 minutes later, he is on a bus going home. Nothing physical failed him. His muscles did exactly what they were supposed to do. But something else broke. Passing Delta Force selection physically means absolutely nothing. This is the reality that recruiting videos and Hollywood movies hide from the public. You can be the strongest man in the military, and you will still fail this final gate. It is called the Commander's Board. It is a quiet, sterile room that kills men who did everything right on paper. If you want to understand what makes the world's most elite counterterrorism unit function, you have to look past the physical suffering. The physical phase is just a filter. The real test is something entirely different, and we will get to what happens behind those closed doors in a moment. There is a fundamental misunderstanding about what Special Operations selection actually measures. Most people look at the 40-mile ruck marches and the impossible land navigation courses and assume it is a fitness test. They assume the unit is looking for Olympic-level athletes, but that is not true. The ruck marches are not a fitness test. They are a stress exposure test. Delta knows how to build physical fitness. They have the best trainers in the world for that. What they cannot build is how a man reacts when his body is completely depleted, his blood sugar is crashing, and he is lost in the woods at 3 in the morning. They need to strip away the physical shell to see the raw operating system underneath. The physical phase exists simply to tire a candidate out, to exhaust his mental defenses. They want him vulnerable. They want him operating on pure instinct. Because when a man is truly exhausted, he cannot hide who he really is. The heavy rucksacks and the sleep deprivation are just tools to crack the armor. Once the armor is cracked, the unit can finally see the man inside. But even after surviving all of that stress, a candidate is still not safe. If you want the parts of Special Operations nobody puts in recruiting videos, subscribe to the channel. Now we enter the room. The Commander's Board is the final hurdle. A candidate walks in and sits before a panel of senior operators, unit psychologists, and the Delta Force commander himself. The room is devoid of yelling or physical intimidation. It is just a conversation. But it is a conversation designed to trap you. The panel reviews the candidate's psychological profile, his peer evaluations, and every mistake he made during the physical phase. Then the questions begin. They are questions with no correct answer. A psychologist might ask a candidate to explain a moral failing from 10 years ago. A senior operator might challenge a tactical decision the candidate made during a training exercise, insisting the candidate was wrong even if the candidate was actually right. Then comes the silence. A candidate will answer a question, and the panel will just stare at him. 10 seconds pass. 20 seconds pass. The silence becomes hostile. It is heavy. It forces the candidate to keep talking, to fill the void, to second-guess himself. They are setting deliberate contradiction traps. They will take a statement the candidate made at the beginning of the interview and twist it 30 minutes later to see if he changes his story. They are not looking for the right answer, because in the environment where Delta operates, there is rarely a right answer. The board is a psychological pressure cooker designed to reveal exactly how a man handles intellectual and emotional failure. But what exactly makes a candidate fail this test? We are going to break down the specific profiles that get eliminated. 3 distinct types of men walk into that room and fail. The first is the performer. This is the guy who tries to give the panel the answer he thinks they want to hear. He acts like a Hollywood version of an operator. When asked about his weaknesses, he gives a fake flaw, like saying he works too hard or cares too much about the mission. The panel sees right through it. They smell the ego. The performer is dangerous because in a real operation, he will hide his mistakes to protect his image. He will pretend he understands a complex operational plan when he is actually confused. In a Tier 1 unit, that kind of performance gets people killed. The board will let him talk, let him build his own stage, and then they will cut him down. The second profile is the rigid rule follower. This candidate passed every physical event because he is excellent at following instructions. But when the board gives him an ambiguous scenario where 2 strict rules conflict, he freezes. For example, the psychologist might ask him to choose between completing a critical mission objective and saving a compromised teammate. The rule follower tries to find the textbook answer. He wants a doctrine to save him, but Delta does not operate on doctrine. They operate in the gray area. A man who needs a manual to make a decision will get his team killed when the manual burns. The board will present him with a scenario that has no perfect outcome, forcing him to choose the lesser of two evils. If he hesitates, or if he tries to find a loophole that keeps his hands completely clean, he is done. The unit does not want men who freeze when the rules contradict each other. The third profile is the man who needs to be right. This is the most common failure. The board will deliberately corner this candidate. They will point out a genuine mistake he made during the land navigation phase of selection. Instead of owning it, he gets defensive. He blames the equipment. He blames the weather. He blames ambiguous instructions from the cadre. He argues with a senior operator to prove his intellect. He wins the argument in the room, but he loses his spot in the unit. He needs to be right more than he needs to be effective. The psychologists watch his body language change. They watch him cross his arms, raise his voice slightly, and shift the blame. A man who cannot accept a minor correction in a sterile room will never accept a life-saving correction in the middle of a firefight. But if these perfect soldiers are failing, what exactly is the board looking for? The answer is incredibly counterintuitive. The traits Delta is actually hunting for have nothing to do with being the ultimate warrior. They are hunting for a profound comfort with ambiguity. The successful candidate sits in that hostile silence and does not flinch. He does not try to fill the void with nervous chatter. When asked a question with no good options, he makes a choice and stands by it, but he acknowledges the flaws in his own plan. They are looking for ego-free correction. If a senior operator points out a mistake, the right candidate simply says he was wrong and explains how he will fix it. There is no defensive posture. There is no bruised ego. He is willing to be wrong out loud. This is the psychological holy grail of special operations. A man who can look at a room full of superiors, admit a fatal error, and pivot to a new solution without his identity crumbling. The board will push a candidate until he breaks, just to see how he puts himself back together. They want to see the exact moment a man realizes he cannot win the interview, and they watch to see if he accepts that reality with quiet dignity, or if he thrashes around trying to save face. The men who make it through are not the ones who fight the hardest in the chair. They are the ones who yield to the truth without losing their composure. This completely changes how we should view elite selection. The public believes Delta Force selects the strongest man, the fastest runner, or the deadliest shot. But the truth is far more complex. The commander's board exists because physical dominance cannot compensate for psychological fragility. A man can carry a 100-pound rucksack for 40 miles, but if he cannot handle being told he is wrong, he is a liability. Delta does not select the strongest man. It selects the man who will not break the team when the plan dies, because in their world, the plan always dies. The intelligence is always wrong. The helicopters break down. The enemy does not behave the way the analysts predicted. When the chaos peaks, a rigid rule follower will freeze, a performer will try to look good while failing, and a defensive man will blame someone else. The unit needs a man who can operate in the dark, without a map, without an ego, and without a guarantee of survival. That is what the silence in the commander's board measures. It measures the space between a man's ego and his reality, and for the men who pass, that space is non-existent. But Delta isn't the only unit using psychological warfare to filter its ranks, and what the CIA does to its covert operatives makes the commander's board look like child's play.